Hello everyone, thank you to join this webinar. My name is Christina. I'm the country manager from Cype Engineer, and this is Bekir Abderrahmed. You also can see the name and the email in the screen. Thank you, Bekir. And today we are going to present a webinar about CYPEFIRE. It's exactly design of fire sprinkler systems with Cype according to the NFPA standards. And what is the NFPA standards? So NFPA's International Operation Department works to develop and increase global awareness of NFPA, its mission and experience by promoting worldwide use of NFPA's technical and educational information. The international office covering Latin America, the Middle East, and North Africa, and China, and work to advance the use and adoption of AFPA codes and standards throughout their territories. So, and for presenting that, what kind of software we are going to use? That is our CYPEFIRE Hydraulic Systems. That's the software that we have for design of hydraulic fire extinguishing installations. Includes EPANET 2 software developed by the Water Supply and Water Resource Division of the U.S. Environment Protection Agency's National Risk Management Research Laboratory. So, with this, I think that Bekir, are you there?
Yes.
I think
Hello,
that
everybody.
with this small explanation about the webinar, you can start with the presentation.
Thank you so much, Christina. Hello, everybody. I am Bekir Abderrahmed from the Technical Support Department on Cype. Today we are going, as Christina said, we are going to see the CYPEFIRE Hydraulic Systems software. And for that, we are going to focus more in the part of the NFPA 13, those codes that we can use for the design of the sprinklers. As my colleague Christina was explaining, that those codes can be used in all around the world. Okay. So before starting the presentation, I want to mention that we have two main other softwares that are IFC Builder or Cype Architecture to make us do models, okay? Just a moment. To make us do models like this model here, to make it easier to design our installation, okay? So for this installation, I'm going to remove the model so we can focus more on the sprinklers and we can see the different parts of the software that we call CYPEFIRE Hydraulic Systems or the sprinkler software. Okay, so this is the main interface of the software. Okay, here we have the different views of the installation or of the building that we have. Okay, we have, for example, here the ground floor, we have the roof, we have the 3D view, and of course from this icon here we can create different views as reflecting ceilings, elevation sections, generic and 3D views or different floors. Of course, we always have the possibility to work on 2D, okay, and we can design our building, as I was saying, with the other two softwares, IFC Builder or Cype Architecture. So first thing to do is starting with the general options or general data. Okay, from this part, we will have the different codes that we have related to the sprinklers installation as the NFPA 13 that we are going to see today.
Bekir, I have a question. We have more standards in the fire software than NFPA?
Yes, as I was saying, we have the NFPA 13 for the sprinklers. It's specialized on the sprinklers. we have the EN 12845, and we have the Singapore codes, okay? So in selecting the NFPA 13, as we are seeing here, we go to the general data. In the general data, we're gonna find that we already have some zones that we call zones with light hazard, for example, okay, or light risk, or ordinary risk, or extra hazard, okay? If we see those parts, of course, we always can create and modify and delete those risks about the zones. If we can get here, we can see that, for example, for the light hazard, non-combustible, unobstructed, we can find the risk light hazard includes building use or conditions are similar to the following for the residentials, churches, hospitals, museums, offices, etc. Okay, so from here, automatically all the zones are exactly depending to the NFPA 13. Of course, if we change the codes, for example, I am going to change to the EN 12, okay, we will see that we have another conditions and other zones. We see that the options are changing, okay? So in clicking here, we'll go back to the NFPA standards and we can use those zones, okay? Here in the general data, we will find some options as the calculation equations of the sprinklers, okay? Here we have the system type. For example, if we change to Darcy waste bash, we will have the possibility to change those specific gravity, relative viscosity, and precision. But we are going to choose in this way the Hazen equations, okay? Here we have options about the pressure drops, okay? We can increase coefficients for it. We have automatic generation of fittings. Here we have, if we want, we can add a maximum velocity for the pipes, okay? Here we have options for the hangers. We have maximum separation between supports and minimum diameter of the threads rod. And if we need, we can add some seismic analysis, okay? It's here. It's depending, of course, to the NFPA standards, to the sprinklers, okay? Here, we can select the seismic analysis. After that, we can see that from here, we can fill the project data, so we can get it later in the report, and we can change always the criteria for fitting quantities, okay? So from here, for example, for the quantities, we can change like the different descriptions for every part, of course, for every element. Here we have the sizing rules, okay? Because later we are going to go back to this part. For the sizing rules, we will use this automatic sizing stick. In clicking in this one, depending to some parameters that we put on the software will suggest for us the best installation or the best diameters of the different pipes of the installations. Of course, not only the diameters, but also the velocity, the flow of the water, and all the other parameters, okay? Other thing that we can design and we can change in the general options are the library of the different elements that we are going to use in the installations. Not only elements, but also the spaces, okay? We see here that we have, for example, in this example, we have a restaurant. The restaurant contains like different zones, okay, or different spaces. If we go here, you see that we have a dining room, a toilet, and a kitchen. Of course, those zones can be imported with the BIM model that we already did, or with the 3D model that we already did with Cype Architecture or IFC Builder, or with even Revit or any other software, or we can create a new spaces or new zones, and we can like put them here, okay?
I have a question, Bekir. I see that
Sure.
you can change anything inside the software. So you also can personalize the materials of the in the software.
Yes, sure. From the library here, we have the different materials that came with the standards that you choose. For example, if we choose the NFPA 13, we will see that for every part, for example, for the sprinklers or for the pipes, we have here the sprinklers, the pipes catalog, the FHR, the hangers, okay, the sway bracers, the bracers catalog, the fasteners, the fittings, and the valves. So for every element, we will be able to add a new one, to copy it, and to modify it, of course. And this is very important. Why? Because in changing those parameters and those elements, we will be able to conform the clients or the country's demand. So, for example, for some projects, we will need a specific type of pipes, for example, or specific reference or specific sizes. Here we have all the different parameters, for example, for the pipe. We have the reference of it, the size of it. Of course, we can change the size, the outside diameter, the wall thickness, and the weight of the pipe. Of course, here we have the materials, and here we have the coefficient depending to the calculation equation. Okay. Of course, we have some fabricants from here that they are used in all around the world, and we can log into the OB database to always be able to consult new catalogs for the pipes, for example. About the materials, we will have here a big library of materials that the software suggests, okay, and we can create always other material. From here, we create a new material. For example, my material, okay? We add a description to the material. We add coefficients to this material, and then we add different diameters or sizes to this material, okay? We can see that the sizes of the pipes can arrive to 30 centimeters or 300 millimeters, okay? And it can start from 15 millimeters, okay? And then we can control those parameters. So this is the point of, this is the way of changing the library of the elements and personalize them. And the point is being in conform with the client, with the client's demand, and work depending the need. Okay. Let us take a look about, for example, the different sprinklers. For the sprinklers, we can see that we can add a new type of sprinklers. Here we have, of course, some suggestions from the software, predefined sprinkler types, and we can manually add my sprinkler types. We can add the type of it, if it's side wall, if it's residential sprinkler, if it's ESFR, okay, or if it's standard. Installation orientation, if it's upright or pendant, key factor, thread type, and type of response. Okay. So this is the part where we can personalize our, let us say, our options for the design and for the calculation. Here we have the options for the design for the materials, and here the options for the calculation. Okay. We see that we already have here the fabricants, but we have a part here to always export those options, for example, to the desktop, okay, as a file. So later we can use and import those options, so to use them in future projects. Of course, if we are using the same computer, we don't have to import them. But if someone else need to use those options, he just import from here the file, and he will have all the list of library field from here. Okay, so this is in general the most important part, the general options of the software. Okay, so in filling this part, all the rest will be easier. We are going to move and see how we can design our installation very easily, and how we can calculate, how we can verify, and how we can change all the parameters. Okay, from here, of course, we can go back to the different spaces, if you remember, that we created in the general data, okay, to assign them directly on the project. Okay, we can go back to spaces. Here, of course, we have the BIM model. We have the different parameters if we are going to share them to the cloud. Okay, so here we have all the elements that you are going to use or that already used in the model. And here, if we want, of course, we can create different tracks. For example, I can choose the height of it. I will choose 1.5 meters. Okay, and for example, for industrial parts or for another needs, we can create hacks. Okay, I am working on the 3D for the moment, so
may I ask you one question? I
Sure.
think that you already tell, but you are using now a BIM model, right? But
yes.
And you before said that it's possible to work in 2D. Do you need to do something to change to 2D to 3D, or do you need to do something to work in 2D in the software?
Yes, of course. Per defect, we are going to see that the software comes with an empty space. So we have the possibility to work on 3D if we already started, as I was saying, the design of our building with Cype architecture or IFC builder, which is simpler, the IFC builder. For example, we can see here that I already created a restaurant with the IFC builder software, which is free. We can use it. It's very simple. We can create walls, partitions, floor slabs, openings, columns, spaces, etc. And with that software, we can get our 3D model, okay, based on the AutoCAD plans or 2D plans. Here we have the DXFs, DWGs. Okay, so from here we can upload our files, our DWGs or DDX or DXFs, and we can of course modify them from here to fix the scales and to fix different plans depending to the floors. And during the BIMserver.center, we can export this model, okay, so we can use it here. As you can see, I already exported the restaurant that I was showing to you on IFC Builder to use it here. So this is the 3D working way. And the other working way is the 2D. So we can work without a model. We can work here in floors. In 2D, we have here the ground floor, the roof floor. You see that I can fix the different parameters for the floors and the different parameters for every floor. But except that, we always have the possibility to import DXF DWG plans as this plan here. You can see that I have this plan here, DWG, which contains all the different layers. So I can work with those plans. And of course, I will have always the object snap. So for example, if I select the object snap, I can do my own piping. Depending, you see that the software automatically capture the walls and capture the points on the plan. Of course, here we have 3D mode for the design, or when I selected the design of the pipes, and we have 2D mode, which can allow us some displacements. Okay. And if we are going to work on 2D, we can always, as I said before, create different floors. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Now we are going to try to show you how simple and how easy to create the different pipes. Today, in this small presentation, I'm going to try to work very simple, okay? So we will not have any complication, and I will show you how easy it is to create installation, okay? So let us create this new project, okay? For example, we call it example 1. I can link it to the BIMserver.center cloud. The BIMserver.center is our unlimited space free cloud. Anybody now can use it. You can just get in the internet, the Google, write BIMserver.center. You can create an account with your email, name, surname, and you can start using some softwares like I was showing, like the IFC Builder or Cype Architecture. But if you have any Cype software, you can always export your projects to the cloud, to the BIMserver.center. You can there drive them, or you can there like save them with all the files, with all the elements related to your project. You can share them with the colleagues. You can send them to the directors or to the other members. You can send them to the other engineers. You can you will be able to share your work. For example, if you are working in the sprinklers part, you can share the work with other parts who are working, for example, the water supply, and everybody can be working in the same time. So this is the BIMserver.center. Maybe later you will be present in other webinars that present trainings about the software. So step by step, we will see how we can create a BIMserver.center project, how we can update and share all the elements or the building elements to the cloud. So of course, for the moment, we are going to choose to work offline. So we just remove the link to a BIMserver.center project and we accept. And like that, we will have a free page. You can see here that I have nothing, or I have here the European, the EN standards, okay, for all those parameters. So I can just select the NFPA. So of course, I see that the standards here change it. So here all the spaces, options, and the risks for every zone has changed. And now we are going to see, of course, here I can work on the 3D, but I can create a floor. Okay, I just click here. I can create 2.5 meters for the new floor. I can call it floor 1 or first floor. And like that, I can work in different floors. I go back to the 3D. I go here to the pipe, but before designing the pipes, I can, of course, always start working on AutoCAD plan. For example, for this first floor, I can fix the scale and I can always work on it. I can select the view of the plan from here, of course, and I can go like that. I can do it for the first floor. I can select this view for the first floor. Okay, I go back here, and like that, I will be able to design my installation depending to this view. Okay, you see that automatically the mouse captures the plans, so I can, for example, design my pipe like that. Okay, so I have a pipe designed depending to the drawing that I have. So it's a very easy way to work on the software. So let us go back to the 3D floor. Let us remove the view of this plan, or let us leave it. Okay, let us work depending to this plan, and let us make a very simple 3D installation to see how easy we can do it. So we can start with a tank. We can start with a supply connection. Okay, for a tank, for example, we have checks for it. Okay, and for the supply connection, we can directly put static pressure, residential pressure, and the residential flow for it, okay? In this case, I'm going to put a simple tank here. It can be underground, okay? And then I can put, for example, a booster set, okay? For the booster set, I can control the flow pressure curve, or the software automatically can give me some booster sets from here, okay? And then I can use it. So I have two elements here. So now I will start with my connection. I'm going with pipes. I'm going to select orthogonality so I can work I can work easier. Okay, so from here, I can select this point of the tank. I can take it here. I will remove orthogonality for the moment. I can take it to get in the booster, okay? And then from the booster here, I can take my connection, for example, from here. I can remove the snap object because it's bothering me for the moment. You can see I can move from here. I can go like that. I select orthogonality, and like that, I will be able to put some vertical pipes. Okay, I put the vertical pipe and I put my pipe like that. And like that, I have half of my installation ready. Okay. Of course, about the different spaces that I have, I already in the general options, I put here the requirements for the space as you were seeing. Okay, for example, for the ordinary risk, we see here that we have design density, okay, with the commands, of course, depending to the NFPA, minimum operating pressure, minimum design flow, minimum duration of water supply, minimum operation area. We can choose if it's by the number of the sprinklers or by the surface area. It's very important. And then we can change those, the maximum operation area, of course. And of course, we can choose if we want to carry the maximum protected surface by the checkpoint. Here we can see the checks to be carried out on the sprinklers. We can add some checks for the sprinklers, but you don't have to worry about those parameters. Why? Because of course they are depending to the NFPA 13. If you go back to the NFPA 13 rules or text, you will see that they have all the necessary checks for the sprinklers. So we feel all those parameters to be exactly depending to those standards. And then we see that we can create some spaces, as in the restaurant example, we see that we have a kitchen, a toilet, and a dining room. Here we can create different spaces. Space 1, for example, we choose depending to the requirements which risk it's gonna take. Okay, light risk, ordinary risk, or high hazard risk. Okay. Let us put it as an ordinary risk, for example, and we can assign the spaces from here. Here, of course, I have only created the space 1, so we can assign it directly from here. Sprinklers must be installed. I can put this check, so later, if I don't install any sprinklers in the space, I will have a warning here. Okay. The free height of the space, and of course I can put another reference, not only space 1, but I can put, for example, a dining room or something, depending to the space. Okay, and later you see that for this space I can manually, or depending to the plan, create this space. Okay, you see here that I have the space with its height. So this space have light risk or light hazard in more technical mention to create. Of course, I was working with the 2D mode to create the space, but I can even work on the 3D mode. Okay. Now we are going to see how we can create installation for the sprinklers, we have a very, very useful automatic generation of the different sprinklers depending to the space. We can create one separated sprinklers. Of course, the parameters that we find here all depends to the type of the sprinklers that you already created in the general data, and always we can change them and go back to the general data to change the other parameters. Okay, so here we have the possibility to create the different sprinklers. So for example, here for the sprinkler one, we can create it from here, and we see that it covers this part, cover the water flow of the sprinkler. Okay, or we have another possibility. If I undo this installation, we can create a branch line which contains, I have to move on to the 3D. You see, if I put a branch line for any installation, I have the creation of the 2D. So if I create 2D, he will work automatically on the first floor where the elevation is 0, but I can change it. I can put a displacement or add another floor, but I can even work on the 3D. Okay, so in working on the 3D, you see here that I can create a branch. Okay, if I zoom in, I see that the branch contains different sprinklers. If I do a right click, I go back to change the spacing between the sprinklers. I can put 1 meter, for example. Okay, you see now I have for every 1 meter a new sprinkler, and like that I just click and I will have the different sprinklers ready to use. Okay, another way of creating the sprinklers, I can go like that. I can go to create another piping from here, for example, or I remove this one, and I can create branched network or gridded system. For the branched network, we can change always the parameters, but the new parameter here, of course, here we can change the type of the pipes, okay, with drop or not, and we can change the number of the sprinklers in each branch line on the left and on the right. Let us accept and see how it's gonna be. You see, 1, 2. You see that we chose 3 sprinklers for every branch. If I zoom in, you can see that I have 6 sprinklers, 3 on the left and 3 on the right. I can change them, of course. And like that, it will cover all the space. Okay, it's very simple, very easy to use, and like that you can control the different ways. Of course, my example is not organized because I'm trying to show you all the ways that you can work with it. Of course, we have another trainings that you can where we can start a model from the beginning to the end when everything is organized, but from here I'm trying to show you all the possible ways of working. Okay, here we have the gridded system. In the gridded system, the change is we can change the number of sprinklers per branch line. So of course from here I can I'm gonna remove this one as well. Okay, gridded system, I make sure that I'm working in the 3D mode, and like that you see that I created the same. You see? Okay, so now I have my installation. I have my spaces. In this example, I did only 1 space. I can add hangers. I can add, or I already have a booster set. I can start with a supply connection. I added my sprinklers. I can add a fire hose reel. I can add an emitter. Okay, I can add different types of valves. I can work directly on the 3D. I can work on the 2D. If I select the 2D, you see that how is my installation in the 2D. Okay, so I can do it. We didn't see the pipe in the 2D view. It's a proof that because I selected 2 meters, you see that here I have a free space of the pipe. because I selected the 2.5 meters of the top lane, so I only see the parts that they are in 2.5. In this way, in this part, I can control all the parts that I want to see where I want to work directly with the design of the installation and the design of the installation. Okay, so this is the way of working. Of course, we have here fastening options for the hangers. We have here hypotheses. Okay, we can add. Of course, we didn't choose the seismic analysis, but if we add the seismic analysis, of course, we can add both earthquake load cases. Here we can assign design scenarios, and here we have the addition parts. Okay, here we have, of course, the addition of the pipes, the addition of the sprinklers. We can delete elements, we can assign elements, we can copy, etc., etc., etc. So this is the way of working. Of course, you see that with this small example, I showed to you some parts of working. And now let us move and see the different results that we can get with this installation. Let us open an example that we already did. You see that here I create, as Christina asked me before, I create different floors. I was working in the 2D. Of course, we can find this example in the software. I have my 3D building. The building came from Cype architecture. I can change the view of it. I can remove the view of the building. I can remove the spaces. And you see that I have a full installation for my building of the sprinkler system. I go back to the normal view. You see that I start with a supply connection, this one. I edit the supply connection. I see the static pressure, residential flow. I see here, if I get in the pipes catalog, the type of the pipe, the material that you created in the general data, the size of it, and the type. I will explain where we can lock and unlock the size of the pipe, because later we will be able, as I said before, to do the sizing part. So automatically the software will design the different dimensions of the pipes.
So I have a question in that part, in the automatic pipe size.
Yes.
I'm not sure, but in case that the software don't size the pipes automatically, what we can do? Because sometimes maybe I'm trying to do it, but I can't, and I maybe don't know how to do it. So can you explain me a little bit?
Yes, sure. It's a very good question, because in some cases we have an error if we calculate.
Exactly.
We can see some errors in the software, like the errors here, for example, in those two pipes. If I click on it, or if I see the check of it, I will not be able to you see the error here. If I click on the pipe, let me try to click on it. I will not be able to change the type with automatic sizing. Why? Because in the library of the elements, for example, for the sprinkler or for the pipe, I don't have the type of it or the dimension of the pipe that can cover or can fix the error, for example, the error of the velocity or the error of the flow that I have. So in that case, I have to go, for example, here, and I can, for example, in this pipes catalog, I can add a new pipes catalog, a new pipe to the catalog. I can, for example, copy this one that I can find here. I can change the dimension, 2.5 here, but I can add 2.7, okay? And I can change the different parameters, okay? I can change here the outside diameter, the wall thickness, the weight, etc. Of course, you are not related to those references. You can always change the different references. And even if you start the design of your building, you can always change the reference later, and automatically all the references in the building will change. We will see. Let us calculate here and see how it's gonna be. Let us calculate. Okay. Now let us, for example, click here. You see the checks. I will check here. You see that I have a bad check here. The maximum distance between sprinklers is 7.44 is less than 4.6. So I have two options. I can change the maximum distance between the sprinklers. I can change the minimum value, or I can change the distance itself. Okay. The same for the pipes. Okay. I have maximum velocity of the pipes, so I don't have a problem here because I didn't select the maximum velocity. But if I go back to the general data, if I go back here, you see, I can change the maximum velocity. Okay. I can always, I have two options. I can change the checks, or I can change the main installation. Okay. I always have the possibility to add. I repeat this part because it's very important. I always have possibility to add the new elements to the library, so we will be able to calculate and automatically redesign our installation. So let us see. For example, I'm going to change this one, this pipe. Now I have it for 40 millimeters. I will put it to 100 millimeters that the software don't need. This pipe is very big. If I calculate, I will see that depending to the checks, it's good. It can do the work, but it's not the minimum. It's not the best. So in designing here, the software will choose always like the best diameters and the best dimensions for all the installation. So we will be able to get the best flows and velocities. Okay. Now let us see. We already have the 3D view. Let us see the different. Sure.
May I ask you the last one question?
Sure.
The automatic sizing is only possible doing it separated. I mean, it's possible to do it separated.
Yes, we can do the automatic sizing with this button here, with this stick here. So we do it for all the installation together as we did before for the for all the pipes, or we can do it separated. How? We go here to the edition, okay? We go here to consult checks, okay? And depending to the checks, we will have the possibility to do it if we click on it, to do it from the stick as well. Okay, so we can do it for one pipe, for two pipes, or for the group of the different pipes. Okay. Now we can go to the graphic analysis of the results. So here we have the different results that we have. We have the flow. We can see here that we have for all the building the same color. Okay. We have results for the velocity. We may see a smaller example. Of course, if I go to file here and I go to examples, it will charge for me a list of examples. If I open offices, for example, we have a smaller example. I can remove the 3D view. Okay. And now I can update the results to calculate. Okay. And now we can see here the results depending to the flow. We can see the different colors of the pipes. So depending to the scale here, we have liter per minute LPM, but we can always go to this icon here and change the units. We have the units for the length, height, diameter, surfaces, for the flows, for the pressure. For example, for the flow, we can change it to GPM or LPM. Okay, for the velocity, the same. And we can consult even the velocity, the pressure loss, the length, and the height. Let us see it depending to the velocity of the water. It's the same. Okay, and for this installation, I can remove some parts. Okay, or I can leave it like that. I can remove, for example, the tank. Okay, I can remove the view of the supply connection. I can remove the booster sets, this one, and I need to, or I can leave the booster sets. And I need to send this project to my colleague in AutoCAD. Of course, as I said before, we can change or we can share this software directly to the BIMserver.center, depending to those two icons. But the most important that we can always print it and do a screen capture that have all those formats: DXF2D, DXF DWG2D, DXF 3D, and DWG 3D. Okay, so from this part here, we will be able to export all this 3D installation to use it, for example, on AutoCAD. Okay, it's very important. And we can, of course, export it to BC3 format to have a budget calculation report. And here below the installation window, we have bill of quantities. For this example, we didn't calculate the bill of quantities, but we have it for other examples. Let me open this one, for example, and see how we can get automatically the bill of quantities. You see here that I have, let me here analyze the project so I will be able to see it on 3D. Here I have the bill of quantity and the prices of the different elements of the installation. Of course, here I have the prices in euros, but I can change the currencies. Okay, here I have all the currencies. Here I have the currency symbol position. Here I have different decimals. Here I have the percentage. Here I have the cost database. It's a quite complicated procedure to do. Okay, I can see the cost database from here. I can edit it. I can get in to see the different prices. I have the price of the labor. I have the price of the materials. Okay, I have the price of the tools. So with those prices, we can create the different prices. It's a procedure that needs some training because we always have training session for the quantities for the budget calculations. So from here, we fix the prices from the cost database, and then we fix the mapping. So we will be able to connect those prices to the elements, to the installation. For example, to connect the pipes prices to the pipes, depending to the name, for example, or depending to the reference, or depending to the diameter. We choose all those parameters on the mapping, and later we will be able to calculate the budget. Okay, if I click here on any part, it can take me, for example, for this pipe or for this one. If I click here, it can take me to the pipe. Okay, we can see it here on the drawing. Okay.
Okay, and after that, you can have all the results, all the tags, and also the reports, right?
Yes, it's very important to have those parts because we already put general data and here the risk zones and all the checks and parameters for and coefficients for the pipes and sprinklers and all the other elements, and we calculated to get the necessary reports and the results. So from here we can go to the reports or from those two icons here to see that we have project reports and material schedule. For the project reports, we can choose which part that we have. Of course, here we have some chapter numbering options. We can choose, for example, the reports for the hydraulic analysis for the nodes and for the pipes. For this example, you see that the software generated for me 53 pages.
So the software is doing automatically, and after that, you can export in PDF and other kind of files, for example?
Yes, we can export those reports as Word, as PDF, text, HTML, or RTF formats, and we can share them directly. And of course, if we share the project with the BIMserver.center cloud, all the reports will be included with the project. So you can see here that I have the flow test summary sheet, all the graphs that I need here for the nodes. We have the type of the node, we have the elevation of the node, we have the reference, we have the pressure of the node, and we have the flow. For the pipes, the same. For every pipe, we have the initial and final node of the pipe, okay? We have the initial and final elevation of the pipe. We have the size of the pipe, or what we call the diameter. We have the length and the flow and the velocity of the pipe, okay? The initial and final pressure, the loss coefficient, and the friction factor of it. So all the needed results, we will get them automatically. You see that for every part, for every pipe, we will get those results.
That's incredible.
Yes, well, we will get all the needed results. Yes, sure.
So I think that with these automatic reports, we are finished with the software, right, Bekir?
Yes, we have all what we need with those reports. We have our 3D model, but only needs now the material schedule, because it will be so important with the quantities. Okay, you see here that I have the quantity of this is the code or the reference of the sprinklers, the pipes, the checkpoints, the fittings. Okay, we will have the quantities, but except that, I will be able to get BOQ or bill of quantities reports. I can get the prices reports. Okay, so I don't have to care about this part in my work. If I have a project and if I need to do the sprinklers, I already have, let us summarize, I already have the NFPA standards. Okay, I don't have to look on those. I only have to change the library one time to check my elements or to check the elements that I am going to need for the installation. Later, I design my building. You see how easy it was designing our building. And I click here to update. I click here to redesign and give me the best diameters, and I will be able to get the reports. That's it.
Perfect. So okay. I think that I'm going to put my camera on. Okay. Yeah. Bekir, you also can put your own camera, please. Okay, perfect. And yes. Can you put the PowerPoint with the email in the screen, please?
Sure.
Well, so I think that it's a very pity, because this is a very interesting webinar, this one that it's for Fire. But the webinar is finished. So thank you very much, everyone, to stay with us in this in this webinar. And if you have any question, of course, you can put in the chat, or also you can send us an email to bekir.abderrahman@cype.com or to my own email, cristina.gomez@cype.com. And again, thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you, Bekir. See you.
Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you, everybody. See you later. See you.
Bye-bye.